What good is anything now? I couldn't just leave Miss Garnet on somebody's doorstep. How awful for anyone to find her that way. Well, I couldn't leave her hanging in that pine tree, could I? The fellow banging at the banjo on Joy to the World played more wrong notes than right, but he didn't lose the tune altogether. The music calmed Aiden's heart. He cleared his sinuses and spit mucus and blood at the sandy ground. Long leaf pine needles gouged his bare arms. The night was unusually chill, near to freezing, and he was drenched in cold sweat, shivering in the north wind. Without meaning to, he was running again, not heading anywhere in particular, he just couldn't stand still. Miss Garnet was lighter when he was on the move. Bay branches smacked his face, but the scratches on his cheek barely registered. He was lost in a spell. The church loomed out of the dark. The clean white oak gleaming in moonbeams startled Aiden back to himself. 85 years ago, after sweating and groaning all day in the fields, slaves built this house of the Lord by starlight. When the very first prayer meeting in the new church came to a rousing end, half these devout slaves, filled with the spirit of the Holy Ghost, took their freedom into the swamps and on to Florida to live and die with the Seminoles. Paddy rollers chasing behind them got struck down by lightning, and the hound dogs got fried too. Overseer aimed to torch the church, but set fire to his own self. Man ran around for hours, burning everybody he touched, and nobody could put him out. They say he'd still be burning in hell. Now, even if this was a tall tale, the angry God of the Baptists made Aiden nervous. He was a sinner for sure, and no Hail Marys would help him here. God, Jesus, and the heavenly host had seen Aiden crouched up in that hunting perch doing squat. Wow, Miss Garnet. While those men. The door to the church was half open, and Aiden nudged it the rest of the way. Plain wooden pews and altar were bathed in a silvery glow, coming in a window that was as clear as fresh air. Aiden couldn't remember this church ever being empty on Christmas Eve before. Squinting down the aisle, he saw a mouse run from a creche in front of the altar. Black bead eyes flashed a fleck of light. A carved wooden Mary cradled baby Jesus and smiled at Aiden. A few donkeys and sheep stared at him expectantly. One of the wise men, dressed in a Seminole patchwork coat, had a broken leg and was tipped on his side. Indian ancestors had their eye on him for sure. Aiden lurched past pews worn smooth by devout behinds and headed toward the creche. He laid his burden down gently. Despite the tremble in his muscles, he wanted to say some words, speak a prayer, but didn't know what he believed. Singers joined the banjo on Joy to the World, coming closer now. Aiden scattered a bundle of sweet bay branches and violet orchids across Miss Garnet's body. Outside the window, 12 riders in dark robes tore through the night, pounding the ground, raising a thick haze of dust. The singers and banjo player went silent. Aiden slid his daddy's hunting knife out the sheath on his thigh. The horses were wall-eyed and sweaty, tongues bawling and frothy. One rider's pale face blurred in the shadows as they disappeared. Aiden hugged himself and bent over Miss Garnet's body, trying not to scream or weep or break apart. The musicians started in again. A child singer soloed on "And Joy to the World" approached the church. A young gal stood in the doorway and sang her heart out. The music tore at Aiden's gut. He dashed behind the altar. A blur of grown-ups rushed by the gal to Garnet's body. Someone wailed and covered any noise Aiden made, struggling out the back. "Suey, the child let us write to her mama," Miss Garnet's sister, Elisa Glover, said. Must have been Lad banging on the banjo beside her. Clouds crossed the moon as Aiden sprinted to the trees. Suey, a dark woman in her 60s with a milky eye and wrinkled, gnarled fingers, stood in the doorway, her hands on the singer's shoulder. Aiden couldn't make out the young one. Her face swam in shadows. Taller than Suey, most likely it was Garnet's gown. Aiden was covered in shadows too, still and all, Sylvie spied him with that blind eye. She nodded once to him and ushered the gal into the church. Aiden raced on. Banging through brush, he didn't feel himself, but deep in the old oaks, he felt the family grieving as the child sang a verse of joy to the world Aiden didn't know. Everybody was hollering on top of Redwood singing. God is in heaven, Annalisa faltered. Communion with the angels. She's dead, Miss Subi talked over her. Redwood didn't want to believe it. An acrid smell filled the church like green pinewood burning. She felt as if scorched roots were coming apart beneath her feet, tearing through dirt, spraying bugs and mucky old leaves in the air. If she hadn't been singing, she'd have fallen over or worse. She clung to each note, longer than she should, louder than the pounding hooves drumming the road. Miss Subi didn't lie. Mama was dead and gone, and never coming back. Redwood didn't know how she could stand it. She shook Miss Subi's cold, heavy hand off her shoulder. Singing loud helped her walk the aisle between the pews and push past her cousins, aunt, and uncle to George. He couldn't holler no more and stood at the creche, staring at orchids on dusty white cloth wrapped around all that was left of Mama. Redwood took George's hand. He squeezed hard. On her back, Iris fussed. Redwood was full of tears too, howling through joy to the world, louder than a baby, for Mama going off with the angels and leaving them